Okay, well, I can't turn my head or else this thing's gonna fall off.
It looks good
And I
though.
want to make sure everybody can see it. So, hello and welcome back to the Formation Lap podcast.
Episode 2.
Episode 2, post Australian GP, first
Yeah.
race of the 2025
Here,
season.
just put the dunce cap right there
It's
on the Ferrari hat.
it shall be explained, though. If you are in the league, then it probably doesn't need to be explained.
It was not Ferrari's best race. That's for
It
sure.
wasn't my best race, that's for sure.
Yeah.
For audio only listeners, we are talking about a dunce cap that I was previously wearing, which I guess is the punishment for being the worst in the entire league. So we'll get to that. But
Yeah.
reactions to first race of the season.
It was an exciting first race.
It was.
Way more exciting than I would say most of the races last year. Just because of the amount of DNFs, the number of rookies that DNF'd too, and experienced drivers, Carlos, who DNF'd.
Mhm.
So it was a really slippery track. We didn't know what to expect. If you just looked at the top cars, it would have been like really boring. You know, you had McLaren and then Max and then a Mercedes, and that would look like it was a boring race. But the end of the race, or the end of the grid, where you had so many DNFs, quite a few surprising DNFs. You know, Fernando Alonso as well.
Yeah.
Mixed in with the rookies, it was really exciting. I thought
Yeah.
it was good.
It was very exciting. I mean, what, 6 drivers didn't finish? Was it 6 or 5?
Yeah, it might have been 6.
It might have been 6. I thought it was going to be 5, and then we had a surprise, I think, Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
Close to the end.
But
Whew.
from a fantasy perspective, we did not do well at all.
Oh gosh, no.
We
terribly bad.
Yeah. I mean, should you
Yeah, okay.
tell them?
Well, just for context, our winner this week scored almost 200 points.
How many exactly?
198.
198
points.
So that's
And-
what's possible.
Right, and this is collective points from qualifying and from the race itself.
Yeah.
My cumulative points for the entire weekend came out to a whopping 2.
2 points. And that's why you have the dunce cap. Which I wasn't gonna like. I didn't make that. That was all you're doing. But
well, because I feel like a fraud. Like, I have it
Right.
F1 Fantasy podcast.
we start a podcast,
Yep.
and I didn't do much better either.
No,
right? I
you
got
scored
55.
You scored 55. I mean, that's a lot better than 2, to be
Right.
fair.
Right, but that's nowhere even close to what we were getting last year.
Right.
Maybe that's just a testament to how exciting the race was.
I mean, it was definitely a wild card. I think most people probably didn't expect it. So, I think a lot of people did end up benefiting from it who maybe
Yeah.
would not have done so well otherwise.
Not that it was luck, but you get minus 20
Sure.
points for each DNF.
Every single one. And I unfortunately had 3 drivers who ended up not finishing the race. So that's already
Right.
minus 60 points.
right off the bat.
And I had gotten 35 points from quali, which wasn't great. But to have those completely eradicated,
Yeah.
even though I had Charles who did okay. I mean, no, not really actually. Nobody did.
Yeah.
Nobody on my team did great. So, I mean, it was an exciting race, like entertainment value wise. If I wasn't involved with F1
It was
fantasy,
a great start to the season.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. So many surprises, so many, so many big moments. But just for me to end up with 2 points feels like I was like purposefully trying to be bad. Like, I think it takes maybe even more talent to make a team as bad as I made.
Yeah, because you would have to predict, like people who I don't necessarily think would have a good race.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
Antonelli.
Yeah.
They all did super well.
Right.
People that I just wouldn't consider on a fantasy team ever. Like they're just not on my radar.
Right.
They did well.
We should so we have posted what our lineups were on the Instagram page, but just for context, my team ended up being Charles, Carlos, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda, and Isaac Hadjar, and my constructors Ferrari and Aston Martin. So out of those, only Leclerc and Tsunoda ended up finishing the race. And Leclerc only scored 24 points, Yuki scored none. So, and Ferrari also didn't do too great either, only 36, and Aston Martin only scored 1 point. So a lot of
to have that many DNFs in a race
Yeah.
in the modern era.
Yep.
Previous eras of Formula One, the cars were unreliable. They didn't stick to the road as much. So you'd have engine failures, you would have tire failures. But they're incredibly reliable now. So to have this many people not finish the race is
Okay, to be fair,
shocking.
you also had 3 drivers not finish the race.
3 drivers not finished,
But-
but I got second place with Max Verstappen.
Well, no, it was McLaren that really
McLaren,
did you well. So
right,
your
yeah.
team ended up being
yeah, it was Fernando Alonso -20 for not finishing. Max Verstappen had my two times DRS.
Sure.
So to explain that to everybody, every week you get to put a 2 times
DRS
multiplier
boost.
on anybody.
Mhm.
And
So they'll earn 2 times the points
Yeah.
that they would have for that.
Yuki Tsunoda got
race.
0 points. Hajar, who I want to give, who spun out, if you didn't watch the race, who spun out on the formation lap.
So he did DNS. He
So
didn't even start.
But here, does that mean he can come on the podcast, the Formation Lap podcast? If you spin out during the formation lap, you get to that's your invitation.
Right. Well, it did mean that there were 2 formation laps in the first
There
race
were
of the
2
season.
and we have to change the name of the podcast
to double
to-
formation lap.
to double formation lap,
Which I think
makes
is-
no sense. But
No, but I think that's a good indicator of that our season, as far as the podcast goes, is going to
Yeah.
go really well.
Yeah, and Jack Doohan -20. McLaren did really well.
Yeah.
Would have done even better if Piastri didn't spin out as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised they even got the 71 points that they did.
Right. It is because he got, 9th place,
Right.
respectable. And then Alpine got me -14 because they had 1 DNF. And then
Oh, wow.
I think Gasly had a moment and that dropped him back.
Mm,
But
mhm.
yeah, it was should we give a shout out to the people who did really
Yeah,
well?
absolutely. Well, first of all, I think also it should be noted Alpine ended up scoring you negative points, I believe, because if you lose race positions during the race, you lose points.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so other people did really, really well.
Yeah.
That was not us, but other people did quite
And thanks
well.
to everybody for joining the league. by the
Yeah,
way.
we've got
Yeah.
and to be fair, it's not too late to join the league if
Anybody
you would
can
like
join,
to.
right? And you'll only be 2 points behind Katrin. So
That is true. It's
you
basically
can join
like
now, and you'll be right at Katrin's level and not far off from my level.
right. It's basically like I am starting a race late anyway. So, you will still definitely be in the running potentially for the season. I
Yeah.
have to say that because I have to believe that I am. And if I was to say that you weren't, then I wouldn't either. And you'll still be able to join in on the weekly ratings. Might be a little harder to be the season champion, but I'll be right there with you. So our first place for our Formation Lab podcast F1 Fantasy League is Team Lollipop Man with a whopping 198 points, which is crazy work.
And yeah, the Lollipop Man is, from my understanding, is the person that lets you know you can exit the pit lane.
Right.
And, so that's where that name comes from.
So the real key to success here in this team was 2 times on Lando Norris, who ended up winning the whole race.
Yeah.
So 118 points just from Lando Norris
Any
himself.
DNFs or so no negatives?
Yeah, no, there was negatives. There was Fernando
Wow.
Alonso on there who got a -20 and still 198 points is crazy because there was
Mhm.
also McLaren in the mix. So
Yeah.
it was really betting on McLaren. If McLaren had not had a good race, this would look a lot different.
Yeah.
But almost everybody, well, Yuki's the only one that also didn't score points. Even Ocon got 8. So that's lovely. So that's our winner of the week is Team Lollipop Man.
Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple people in here that weren't expecting to do so well. I know we have 2 teams that they don't really follow F1 all that much, which is also like a shout out for if you want to get into F1, fantasy is a really good way to do
It's
that.
a good intro.
Right, because
Yeah.
then you are invested. You start to care about drivers, even if it's just for some random reason, as far as they fit into your cost cap.
Mm-hmm.
So our second place person, which Commit Max Evasion is the team name there, got second and doesn't follow F1 to my knowledge.
It looks like
very
they
closely.
utilized a chip, though.
That is correct. We should explain those.
So yeah, chips are a concept in the Formula One fantasy where you get to use 5 up. There's 6 chips available, ranging from different perks. The one he used is 3x multiplier on any one driver, and you only get to use that once throughout the season.
Yep.
So that team will never get to use that chip ever again.
So you can use the 2 times DRS boost every single week.
But
there are specific chips that you can only activate once, and once you've activated it, you can't use it again. So
Yeah.
you want to. So the 3-time one is the big moneymaker.
Yeah.
And no offense, might have kind of gone to waste on Max Verstappen this week,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
It only got
You would hope it would go to a winner, but
only got 87
second
points.
place is not that bad.
87 points out of a 3-time is not great.
Yeah.
No offense.
And at 3x, you're negative. So it's
Yes.
minus 60.
That happened to you last year.
Yes. So last year, yeah, I put it on Max. It was his one race where he did not finish.
At the beginning of the season, where
At the
he
beginning of the
was
season,
winning every
very
single
dominant,
race. Yeah.
and minus 60 off the bat. So yeah, just be aware
Yeah.
of that.
There's other ones you can read in the FAQs. I won't go into too much detail about them, but like the no negatives one is really helpful too. So that is kind of like it says. I could have used that this week, honestly.
Yeah.
You won't get any negative points for people who don't end up finishing the race.
On a wet race, in hindsight, using that when you know there's going to be rain is probably a good move.
And on the first race of the season, where you're really betting on kind of nothing.
Yeah. We're not good at this.
No, I was a little overconfident
We're learning
in my
too.
boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other award or shout out we did want to give this week was most creative team name so far. If you want to add in, maybe create a new name, that is up to you. For me, that is Commit Max Evasion.
Commit Max Evasion. And then mine was, I don't know, I saw a few YouTube videos. So I thought that was good. Which is accurate, right? Just watch a few YouTube videos and you're in.
Sure. I do want to shout out your team name though, which is Can't Verstappen Me.
Can't Verstappen Me.
That was pretty great, and I do feel like I need to explain my team name a little bit. It's I want to see P3, yeah. And it's referencing a video where a fan goes up to Carlos, seems like a really big fan, and then he's like, "Hey, I want to see you get P3, yeah." And Carlos is like, "Wait, why P3?
Like, why not win the race?
Right? Why not win?" So that is that. Anything else to say about the league itself so far?
No. Join. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It adds, a new layer to the race, like any fantasy sport.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's Formula One in itself is already really fun,
Yep.
and then doing fantasy with it while watching the race is a blast.
Yeah, I will say couple final notes here. Actually, our top 3 are really far away from the rest of the pack here. So our third place, Yuki Go, is at 127 points, and then fourth drops down to 64. So there's a big gap between top 3 and the rest of the field here.
Have-nots. So speaking of booms and busts.
Well, there was one more point I wanted to make as well, which was, and I already forgot what it was because I lost my train of thought.
We can just go into booms and busts.
Yeah, it was something about this week in between now and the next race. The next race is China. It'll be next weekend. And unlike this week, you're only allowed 2 transfers. So your team is pretty much locked in. You're only allowed to transfer out 2 people or constructor this time around. So
I dropped my microphone.
Sorry about that. I don't know what that sounds like on you guys' end. So keep that in mind. You can transfer more than 2, but it is going to come at a cost. You will be negative points for the start of next week. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. And
best of luck.
Okay. So now your big, we'll go boom.
You want to go biggest boom first?
Yeah, your boom for the week.
My
driver or team.
I am going to go with Alex Albon for biggest boom. I was thinking Kimi Antonelli, though, I think, because we didn't expect much from him, but people do expect a lot from him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the biggest boom. I think Alex Albon getting 5th. He ended up getting 5th in the end. He would have gotten 4th, but Kimi had a time penalty that was taken back, and then he had a time penalty and then it was
for an unsafe release in the pit lane. Mercedes probably challenged it, and then it got removed.
Exactly. Yeah. So Alex Albon in a Williams ended 5th.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting. That was really unexpected for me.
That Williams looks really good.
It does, surprisingly. What about you? What's your biggest boom?
It was going to be Alex Albon, but I'll go with something different. I'll go Antonelli because 4th on his Formula One debut is ridiculous.
That is crazy work.
That wet, and like I admittedly had him discounted. I think he's too young. Yeah, I think Toto Wolff kind of did him a disservice putting him in that car too young. He could have used another year in F2, but they said no, we'll risk it. but it paid off, and it looks like he's gonna like to keep that car on the track throughout the whole race, let alone get fourth, is really impressive.
Yeah, and here he
And
goes proving you wrong. He sat out and he was like,
yeah,
I'm gonna prove Austin Brass wrong
yeah.
with this race right here.
Well, I noticed the two rookies who maybe had the worst weekend leading up to the race, like bad qualifying, crashed in practice, were Antonelli and Behrman.
Right.
And those are the only two rookies who finished the
Right.
race.
I will say notably, I saw Ollie Behrman crashed in FP1, and he was originally in my roster for my fantasy team.
Yeah.
And the second I pulled out my phone, the second he crashed, I was like, okay, because Isaac Hadjar was looking really
Yeah.
good, really good in that RB. So I subbed him in, and then of course Isaac Hadjar ended up being the only one to not the only one. No, he was the only one to not even start the race. So
Yeah.
shows me.
I mean, is that your biggest bust then? Hadjar?
No,
Okay. Who is your biggest bust?
Carlos Sainz.
Oh, you're gonna do that to your boy?
Well, I mean, is that not the most surprising one out of all of them? With a rookie, like, yes, I think Isaac Hadjar is surprising, but he's a rookie, so it's not as surprising. With Carlos, he had been performing so well, like in all the testing and all the practices.
Yeah.
Like he was doing things in that Williams people didn't think was going to be possible to do in that Williams.
Yeah.
You know, so I had a lot of hope, and of course, I will say I'm a bit biased. Carlos Sainz is literally my favorite driver on the grid. So
So your expectations were
they were high. They were high. And to see him go out like that was really disappointing. Did he even make it past the first lap?
no, yeah, no, he did.
He did. He was in it for a little bit, but not long.
Not long.
It was pretty early on. And for seemingly like a weird
He was like the second driver to go.
right. And
Because
what am I doing?
yeah, so doing Hajar,
Signs.
then there's the steak driver I can't think of. Bortoletto as well. I mean, how good do all those rookies feel after spinning out, and then Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz also spin out?
Right.
Like,
There's some proof
if it was
that...
just the rookies who spun out,
Mhm.
it would have been a nightmare for them. And then we would have been, teams would have been raising the red flag, saying like, no, time to go.
Right.
They're too young, they're not fit. But then you have really experienced drivers who just seem to let the back tires slipped off them, and they lost it. But
right.
I'm gonna go with, for my bust,
Biggest bust.
Let's go with Hajar.
Really?
Because he didn't start the race,
Yeah.
and I had such high expectations for him as well,
Yeah.
and to just not even start the race. And I think that's why, if you watched, you saw, well, you couldn't see because he had a helmet on, but he had his hands through his visor because he was crying so
Yeah.
much. And Lewis Hamilton's dad comes up and tries to cheer him up, but like the emotions were pouring out of him because he had such a good starting position, and to spin out just trying to get your tires warmed up.
Mhm.
He spent his whole life trying to get to Formula One, but now he gets to come on the Formation Lab podcast.
That's so heartbreaking, though, and like he's young too, so it's just
yeah. So I don't use the bust in like he's going to be a bust,
no,
like his career,
no.
but like this race.
At least it seems like he has a bit more job security than Doohan does. You know what his contract says? He only has a contract for 5 races.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be determined whether he's going to stay or not. That is cruel and unusual.
So yeah, he's 20% done
Yeah.
with his race career potentially. He's only got 4 more chances, and one of them, yeah. So,
and he was at his home race too.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate.
And then, but I think it was between Hadjar and Liam Lawson, because
Ooh. Yeah, that is true. Where did Liam end? I don't even know, but
Liam
somewhere
Lawson
at the very
is
back.
the second Red Bull driver.
Yep.
Max Verstappen in the other Red Bull is finishing second, and Liam is struggling to get into the points. He'll get it sometime, but I don't know how long that leash will be at.
Right. I saw so many memes afterwards that was like, welcome back, Checo Perez, or Checo Perez, close enough, because that's just about where Checo was qualifying last year, and that's what lost him his job, given he got the whole season still.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But crazy work, Yuki, though.
Yeah, Yuki, halfway by the summer break, I think Yuki's going to be in that second Red Bull seat.
I mean, it would make the most sense, but that's also something that people were saying would make sense last year too with Checo, and they just didn't replace him ever. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they had more loyalty to him, sure. I don't think they have quite as much loyalty to Liam, but the fact that Yuki outqualified or just outraced him,
Yeah.
outraced in general in the what people are thinking is the least lesser car.
It could not be.
Yeah, Helmut Marko apparently was saying that Max could end up in that RB if it ends up being the better car. So that's just
a wild prospect.
wild. Also, another note on Kimi Antonelli finishing 4th and beating Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. I mean, how much of that is Ferrari strategy?
I don't even want to talk about it.
It's not
putting on the dunce cap because I'm wearing a Ferrari jacket. And
yeah.
They really dumpster fired that one.
Yeah, I mean, ignore the strategy. I don't think the car was fast enough anyway.
Well, I mean, they were up in like 2nd and 3rd at one point, right? When they could have not messed the strategy up, stayed there.
Yeah.
Instead, they said, "Oh no, we need to go on inters for like 2 seconds."
You crushed it. It's fine. Hopefully, you don't need it anymore.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna have to really look to the future to make some changes to make sure that I don't have to wear this again.
What are you changing for next week?
What am I not changing? What can I change? I don't know.
You only get 2 changes.
I know. Unless I want to take negative points, but I don't think I'm gonna risk that at this point. Well,
you gotta be really smart about it.
I know. I'm gonna keep Charles. I think I'm going to keep Carlos. I think this was kind of a freak accident. And the way that Albon was in the Williams, I think Carlos can do something really special with that. I think he could be on a podium.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep Carlos. It depends. What's weather looking like at China, you know?
Yeah.
I may switch my constructor, actually, if I can. I have Aston Martin right now. So I may try to switch out Aston and Fernando Alonso potentially, and keep Yuki Tsunoda and Isaac Hadjar, because I think Hadjar can do something good, and the RB looks good.
He'll be good value.
I'm not quite ready yet to switch out Ferrari, but it may come to that at some point.
I might even need to switch out Red Bull because I'm talking Max. I don't have Red Bull as a team,
right?
But is the winning fantasy formula just to load up on Lando Norris and McLaren?
And they look so dominant.
And then, load up on Lando Norris and McLaren, and then try to find some value with whatever money you have left. If that's the winning formula this year, that's what I'm going to do. So,
what are you changing?
What I'm going to change? Probably not much.
Really?
Right? Like, I would see maybe if I can get Lando Norris for the value of Max.
Your team name is Can't Verstappen me.
Yeah, so I just kind of have to.
You don't have to, but, on principle.
I would have no identity.
You'd be really confused. You'd have split identities going on there.
And then, I don't know. I have to change something, but I don't know what yet. But
well, let's see. Let's look at our winners. Let's see what they did so right. I mean, we already know it's just having the race winner.
Yeah.
And the race winning car.
Yeah.
And that's really it. So if you can predict
we can nail that. Yeah. We can do it. We need to bounce back. We're losing credibility as a podcast.
I know. We have to save our career here.
We are back of the grid.
But the thing is, I think the only way to do that is to bite the bullet and go full McLaren, because that's what the season. I mean, it's early. It's early days. It is early days. This is what people were saying last year about Red Bull, right? Of like, oh man, it's got to be another season of Max dominance, not so much Red Bull. But how does this McLaren feel compared to the Red Bull dominance we've seen? You were saying it's far, but you were saying it looks scary.
Yeah, it does. It'll be less competitive than what we would hope for at the top, I think,
right.
Unfortunately.
We'll see. Like you've mentioned, some of these cars could win the development race, right? So how much better can the McLaren get through the year? Can it develop more?
Has it peaked?
Right. Or if they develop it more, is it going to make it worse?
Yeah.
I don't know. So
we'll
are you
see.
going full McLaren, or are you gonna try to stick to your morals for a little bit longer?
I'm gonna stick with it for now. I
Okay.
can't jump ship after 1 week.
All right. All right. We'll
Yeah.
see. And just
It's
pray and
next
hope
week.
and pray. Yep. Next week we've got China.
Yeah.
Don't really know what to expect there. I should have grabbed stats of like who won stuff last year, but like who did
Mm,
really well in China last
that would have
year.
been too much work.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, I hope everybody had fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so too. I hope
It was a late night
well, it was
race.
late for us.
Yeah,
Not for
on East
everybody.
Coast time, but
Yeah.
hopefully it wasn't too bad. I know a lot of people texted us while they were watching, so
Yeah, shout
that was
out.
fun.
Shout out. It was fun, and hopefully we can keep it up. It's gonna be a long season though, so we do not count us out yet. Do not
Yeah.
count us out. We will
And
make
we're gonna come back stronger.
the comeback of the season.
We
This is
better.
gonna be like McLaren 2024. That's gonna
Yes.
be what this comeback is.
Yes.
Hopefully.
We're gonna develop
Yeah.
and grow.
Yeah. And
That's it.
then we'll see. Yeah. So join the league if you haven't already, if you would like to. All the links are going to be on our Instagram. And yeah, stay tuned.
All right.
Stay tuned.
Wait, what
what's our
was
catchphrase?
Yeah, what was the outro?
They're all lined up and ready to go. Is that it?
Yes. That was
Okay.
it. Or the lap's been formed. But we didn't form any laps.
No, not this time around.
The lap's breaking down. It's no. Is that not a good outro?
What does that even mean?
I don't know, because like our team's just falling apart. We didn't
Yeah.
finish.
Let's see if we complete some laps next time.
Yeah, complete a lap.
Complete a
full-
lap. That's the affirmation. That's our manifestation for next week's race. All right.
Till next time.
I'm going to do a peace out again.
No.